Hello, I am, um, hang on. I'm trying to figure out what this title is in Chinese. I cannot, for the life of me, read that character. Stop me. Oh my god, okay, give me a second. They sent one more thing. Gui. What? Okay. Well, so it's either one of two characters, but both of them don't look like that character. Uh, what? Oh my gosh. So so final price of soup is soup. Fuck. The final price of soup is soup. Basically, it's a longish game. I saw someone a VOD for it that's like around 3 hours ish. And oh my god, I'm hearing my own voice. Hi, meteor shower. I was watching your other stream before, so in the background, which is why it's so hard to form coherent thoughts while you're also listening to someone else talk. But hello, um, welcome, welcome to Soup. I'm slightly scared I'm not gonna finish the game because I heard that, or I saw of someone's VOD say that it takes like 3 hours ish. So, uh, hopefully we find a good stopping part, um, close to the 2 hour mark. Yeah. Speed run. No, Nick, no. Hello, hello. Hi, it's me, Shi or Shiro or whatever you want to call me. And this is the first time I've seen a Renpai game have accessibility settings, so that's great. Uh, though I think is toggles like is this on? Okay, I don't need self-voicing audio tone. Okay, it should be all fine though. Right, this game is by Four Noki. They make a lot of Yuri visual novels. I forgot if they're all horror related or like spoopy related, but they are all Yuri, so or GL or whatever you want to call it. Oh yes, and I wrote all the content warnings down on the bottom of the screen. So, uh, cool, be warned. Poop. So the description for this game said that or like basically the main character who is was it Qian Hai Lu or Qian Hai Lu? I think it's Hai Lu because the Hai was like in like sea. So wakes up to find that she's dead. Luckily or unluckily, she's been given a chance to turn back the clock to avert her death, as long as she can pass 3 rounds in the game of life. So yeah, and uh no words, just start because you have not a lot of time. She oh wait. Oh, text box of what? What? Bro, the accessibility, man. That's incredible detail. Oh, okay. Within a crackling red, a suffocating black, my mind seemed to take form from countless ashes. A falling sensation jolted me awake, but my body would not move. A weight upon my legs, a haze upon my consciousness, as if the flow of blood had congealed within my veins. Whoa. Oh wait, I'm kind of covering the thing. Hang on. No accessibility from me. I suck at it. I open my heavy eyelids and meet red. A girl wearing a red dress sat upon my lap, looking at me like one would look at a particularly droll statue in a dull museum. Give me a sec. I also realized that desktop audio was not on. Oopsies. Ah! Sorry. Sorry. Doing great, Shi. Thanks, Shi. I'm sorry. Right, the UI is so nice, and it's so cool that you can adjust the opacity of the text box as well. I meant to push her off me, yet I was unable to make more than the slightest twitch. In the folly of the design of human flesh, unlike wooden marionettes, despite the stiffness of my muscles and joints, I could still feel the hard seat and backrest. I tried to speak, and in more of the same, my voice did not move. Is that a X-Acto knife? X-Acto blade? Is she about to shave my eyebrows? She too did not speak. Finally, her eyes, red as blood, met mine. As if acknowledging me, as if dismissing me, she stepped down to the ground. In doing so, she opened my line of sight. I glanced around, still frozen. Oh, it is live 2D. What? Or some form of it. This place was filled with shadows and little else. I seemed to spot the outline of a door by a far wall, which was also covered in darkness. Thus, a glint of light, where there was no light, instantly caught my eye. A blade, a scalpel. Oh, not for eyebrows. The girl held a small surgical knife that, at this very moment, she let go of. That which fell to the ground, rather than clink or bounce, was devoured by the floor and melted away. Oh. A fanciful thought flittered across my mind that this is a dream. She did not speak. I could not speak. My tongue stiff in my mouth, my limbs feeling not my own. Slowly, I regained control of my body and pushed myself up to my feet. A wave of vertigo washed over me as I wobbled to balance. I glanced behind me, finding the chair that I must have been sitting on, and the same darkness that covered the rest of this place. Finished, I wearily looked back towards the girl. Where was this? Who was she? I tried to remember how I arrived at this situation. Nothing. I couldn't remember anything, instead feeling a budding headache at my temple and a sour sensation bubbling up in my gut. No one would search for me. A face crossed my mind as if to contradict me. Maybe that person who I pushed away would, but the thought didn't give me any sense of relief. Okay. You've already died. Then, an unfamiliar voice, the voice of the girl wearing red, broke the silence. This is the afterlife, the courts of DU. Sure. Welcome to the final court, the 11th court, where you will be judged. I was dead, she said. This was the afterlife, she said. To think that my forebears were right. Forebears? Courts were a major part of the traditional subterranean afterlife of... Is it D? Never mind. I'll just say it how an American would say it. DU. A concept formed from a mixture of Buddhist ideas and traditional Chinese ideas. The number was commonly stated to be 10, but I had heard of variants, albeit not 11. Then again, this wasn't my area of study, but rather information that person would mention now and then when something piqued her interest. Was I in such great shock that my mind would wander so? So, I'm dead. Yes. She looked at me as if I were a fool. Without waiting, she continued her script. I am the judge of the 11th court of hell. You have been disqualified from entering the cycle of reincarnation by your sins in life. Your fate as a sinner will be determined by this court. Therefore, you may not drink Munpo's forgetfulness soup. Munpo was a goddess at Naehe Bridge in the underworld, serving a soup that would wipe the memory of all that drank it. All souls had to drink the soup before they could reincarnate into the next life, stripped from the burdens of their previous life. Instead, you are given a chance to participate in a trial set by the king of the 11th court. A game of life, 3 rounds, 3 tests. Should you pass all 3,
then you will be brought forth before the court to win the qualification for rebirth or to undo your death.
What did it mean to undo my death? I narrowed my eyes in contemplation, thinking of all the false claims of resurrection made by religious fanatics of all sorts. Of course, I wanted to live again. Somewhere deep in my bones, I had already accepted that I was dead. What sort of tests?
Dangerous enough, difficult enough.
What happens if I refuse to enter this game of life?
You'll be judged to have lost and be eaten alive.
You sure are lucky enough for it. Nick, no. Yes, I always win spin to win. I will be just fine.
You have no obligation to participate. Simply do nothing, and everything will end with time.
No, I just wanted to check. I have no intention of giving up before I can even get started. I looked around again, finding no one but her and me. Why was I the only one chosen for this?
Why do you think that? There are plenty of other dead who will also play this game. Deciding whether you want to fight over the prize with them once you meet is your prerogative.
Oh, okay. A low bell rang. She tilted her head upward, gazing into the dark.
My task here is finished. I've been called away by the king, so I will take my leave now.
Not looking for an answer from me, she turned to leave and stepped part way into the shadows before pausing. She glanced back towards me and pointed at the door by the far wall.
Just one more thing. Pass through that door and enter the first test, the first game, if you are still interested in playing.
I have to say, at least the art style for the judge reminds me a lot of Butterfly Soup. Then she walked fully into the shadows and disappeared from my sight. I was now all alone. All I had left to do was walk through the door, but I hesitated. The continuing low sound of the bell sent chills down my spine. As I stalled, the darkness approached. Before I realized, the chair behind me was swallowed whole. I stumbled, trying to avoid the shadows that had reached my feet. It extended towards me, and I backed away further, but despite the black barely touching my shoes, I felt like it hold on, I need a cough. Hydrate or dehydrate. I felt like it like hands upon my neck, cold yet burning. I gasped, forcing myself towards the door, tearing off the invisible things grabbing me. They seemed to try to drag me back, making my skin burn. Hydrate or die straight. Better drink water. I ran. I had to run. The darkness chased. I reached the door. I could not see the other side, despite it appearing more like a hole in the wall than a door, now that I was mere steps away. I had to go. Propelling myself through it, with my hands against the frame, I passed through the doorway. A strange light, so similar to the absence of light, enveloped me. Then I was falling. I grunted as I dropped unceremoniously to the ground. Despite landing on my feet, I slipped on the wet grass and rolled a couple meters down the hill. Ugh. It took me a moment to reorient myself on the ground. When the world finally stopped spinning, I stood, brushed the dirt off my clothes as best I could, and observed my surroundings. There wasn't much to comment on. I was in a deserted part of a dark forest. Trees and shrubbery surrounded me on all edges. Visibility was minimal, but moonlight streamed through gaps beneath. Oh my god. Visibility was minimal, but moonlight streamed through gaps within the leaves. Suddenly, a rustling sound broke through the natural quietude. Perhaps I wasn't alone after all. There was something in the foliage. Before I could investigate, a familiar voice filled the sky.
Welcome to the first round of the game of life.
It was the girl in the red dress. Like her voice came from the speakers of a stadium, she was nowhere to be seen, yet could be heard everywhere.
The rules are simple. You have 9 hours to arrive at the bottom of the mountain. Alive, of course. I'll be your judge. Good luck.
I bit back a chuckle. She couldn't hide the sarcasm in her well wishes if she tried. Well, at least downhill was always easier than uphill. I began walking in the direction the ground seemed to slope downward. I did my best to ignore the eerie feeling of something watching me from within the foliage as I searched my pockets. Did I have anything that might help me get down the mountain in one piece? Not much at all. No wallet, no phone, not even my lighter. At least the moon was bright tonight. Despite the darkness of the forested mountain, I had enough light to ensure I wouldn't walk right into a tree. 9 hours wasn't a terribly long time, but it was enough to lose strength to thirst and hunger. Thankfully, I didn't feel hungry or thirsty right now. I didn't need to hydrate. But just in case, I should spend some time looking for a river or... A sharp scream sliced through my thoughts and sent a shiver up my spine, making my heart race in my chest. I jumped at the sound, turning in every direction to identify its origin. Oh. Then, as the scream began to diminish, the noise of crunching and squelching reminded me of a large dog feasting upon a fleshy reward reached my ears. That, or someone's just eating chips really loudly and fast. I ran towards the source. It might have been dangerous, but I couldn't just leave someone in danger. So I naively thought. Dashing towards the noise, I felt my stomach turn as the animalistic eating increased in volume, and further dread came upon me as I realized that I could no longer hear the person. I skidded to the stop for a ridge, finding that the level ground stopped a few meters in front of me. The sound came from below. Walking toward the edge to peer downward, I wondered if they would be alright. The train of thought died as soon as I saw what had become of the person. What became of the person, or what became of the remains of the person. They were dead. That wasn't a person. That wasn't a human being. It was just a pile of flesh. Oh, ew! 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 A few meters below the ridge where I stood, a pack of monsters hunched over something terribly red, tearing inwards from the lifeless sack of what must have been a human. Bye. Alright. See ya. Words were caught in my throat. My lungs stuttered with each breath. It's a puppy. Yo. Yeah, it's animated too. Like, was the live 2D really necessary? I mean, like, it's cool, but like, dang. Ah, it sure does act to that effect. As much as my brain screamed at me to run, I couldn't tear my eyes from the screen. Hurry up! Cool. As soon as I thought that, one of the monsters suddenly turned its head. Red dots in the depths of black pits met my eyes. If those teeth caught me, I would be done. My sense of equilibrium collapsed, and my legs turned to jelly, causing me to fall behind. I let out a howl and jumped. It let out a howl and jumped towards me, thankfully unable to climb the ridge to reach me. Yet, sensing my presence above the ledge, just a few meters tall, it began to slam and scrape against the rocks to find a handle to climb upward. That was finally enough for my brain to get my legs to work. I scrambled to my feet and ran. You know, I play visual novel games because I'm very bad with jump scares, so what the hell was... Okay. I dashed through the forest in the opposite direction of those creatures, hoping that I was still going downhill, not into a den of monsters. As I ran past trees and shrubs, a sudden light caught my eye. A bobbing orb within the foliage appeared to be approaching me, the light flickering in and out as it disappeared behind leaves intermittently. My breath hitched. Oh no, no! I didn't know what that light could be, but considering I just saw a pack of monsters eating the last person that screamed, I didn't want to find out and picked another destination to run. How many more monsters can be? As I twisted, the ground beneath me disappeared. Uh-oh. My foot hit something hard, and the sky swung outside my field of view as grass and rocks came hurtling towards me. Ah! I crashed onto the ground, just barely able to stop myself from face-planting straight into the dirt. Terror gripped my heart. Did something catch me? Oh, when I turned around, I only saw a metal pipe and a hiking backpack on the ground. What tricked me was nothing more than a pair of inanimate objects, innocuously scattered apart by my impact. Their presence was almost laughable in the face of what I imagined. The flowers... Are those... Oh. Oh, cool. Rollback isn't disabled. Let's go. Also, wow. Yeah. Witty. Just like the Xbox too. My heart wanted to relax and stop thumping for a moment, filled with self-ridicule at my overreaction. Then I saw the light flickering through the trees again. Too close! Too close! I had to leave now! I struggled to my feet, but that one moment of relaxation took more of a toll on me than I expected. My legs wobbled, and the glow was upon me before I could get up. I squeezed my eyes shut, bracing myself for the end. Ugh. I was done for. Whatever monster I was running away from was going to eat me. The first bite never came. Instead, I heard human footsteps shuffle closer to my position before stopping. The light swept over my closed eyelids, and then shifted out of my face. Whoever stood before me did not speak. However, perhaps it wasn't a monster. Oh! When I opened my eyes, it was a pretty face that greeted me, her usual gloomy disposition broken by the surprise in her eyes. It was a familiar face, her eyes averting mine as she too recognized me. Was I dreaming? Mimi? My heart started thumping for a different reason, cold sweat breaking out from nervous awkwardness instead of fear. She was Mimi. No, not Mimi. Her name was Cheng Yanshu, and my former girlfriend. I used the term former, not because I had died, but because we broke up a few weeks ago. And it wasn't. I swallowed those feelings like I swallowed her name from my lips. Oh wait, no, that's me. Doom, no! It's like a sad gay trope where you like die after not being able to.
Lulu, 钱海
Lulu. Yes, Yanshu. We spoke each other's full names, mutually discarding the pet names that we once called each other when we had been in love. Lu and Cheng Yanshu were no longer dating. Lu and Cheng Yanshu were dead. Did we die at the same... Wait. I finally gathered my thoughts. I didn't expect to see you here.
Neither do I.
You were here for the game of life as well? A rhetorical question. Who would go hiking deep in the mountains at this hour of night? Certainly not meet Cheng Yanshu. She was much more of an indoor girl.
Yes. At least the test seems simple. We just have to get to the bottom of the mountain. It's always easier to go down than up.
Like our relationship? Yo. Easy, but there are monsters on our tail.
Monsters?
Yeah, I saw them eating one of the contestants. I didn't know how to best describe the scene, my blood running cold as I remembered vividly the monsters eating. However, it seemed I didn't need to. She didn't doubt my words. She trembled as she looked at her phone, and it took everything to not reach out and give her a comforting hug. This was a bad dream. We would wake up and we would be sad internally. Why did I do this to myself? I couldn't let the past cloud over the present. Still, looking at the way she clutched her phone, trembling at the mere mention of monsters, made me waver in my convictions. It occurred to me that she would never make it out alive on her own. Alive, that seemed to be the wrong phrase. I can't believe we're both dead. That's one hell of a coincidence.
Coincidence?
A horrible one, but yeah. What was the line for interacting with and helping your ex? What? Despite my indecision, there was one thing I had no doubt about. It didn't matter that we broke up. I didn't want her to be dead. Should we team up? Terror was still evident in her face, but there was a light of hope in her eyes from my words. She hesitantly reached out a hand toward me, but retracted it before I could hold her. With a slight shake of her head and a slight nod, she gave me the slightest smile.
If you'll have me.
Oh. We chatted about our situation for a few more minutes and debated on what we should do. Hello! Your art is really cute! Thank you for making the game! Sorry. Coughing. We chatted about our situation for a few more minutes and debated on what we should do. We couldn't find an answer beyond playing this cruel game. Yanshu tilted her head towards the objects on the ground. The tilt. Sorry. Oh. What?
What do we have here?
I dug through the backpack I tripped over. A couple bottles of water, a variety of snacks, and a first aid kit. I pulled the items out one by one to show Yanshu. And I guess this... I picked up the metal pipe laying by the backpack and swung it a couple times. I didn't harbor any optimism about its effectiveness against man-eating monsters, but it was a weapon.
There's a note from 11. Lucky boxes will be scattered throughout the mountain for players to use as they please. I suppose this is one of them.
11?
Oh, the girl in the red dress. She appeared to tell me I'm dead. Did she not appear before you too? I think it was her voice who announced the start of the game.
I held my hand out for the note, which Yanshu handed to me. The calligraphy on the red paper was stunning, taking me out of this dreary forest for a moment. Each delicate curve and stroke perfectly sized, indicating masterful control of the brush. I felt my lips curl upward involuntarily, a softness filling my chest. There was a saying that beautiful people had beautiful handwriting. It was unfair. Oh, her. Yes, she appeared in front of me too.
She never gave me her name, so I've just been calling her 11 in my head.
I see. I don't know her name either. It'll be easier to call her 11. I briefly wondered what her real name was. As I repacked the backpack, I decided to ask the next time I saw her. Yanshu. She looked up from her phone and guiltily placed it in sleep mode. Have you tried calling for help? She chewed on her lip and shook her head before turning the phone on again to call.
There's no signal.
Wait, I thought we were dead. Did she die with her phone? Do we have our phone? Like... What? I thought we don't have anything when we die. What has she been using that phone for this whole time? That's too bad. Hey, maybe you should turn that off. I can barely see our surroundings with that blue light.
I'm sorry.
Besides, what if it runs out of battery at a time we need it?
Oh, that's not a problem.
What? Oh, the charger! My mouth dropped open, but words cannot adequately describe my shock as I watched her fish through her pockets and pull out a hand-cranked charger. As my friend always says, you gotta stay strapped.
See? Now I can use my phone as much as I want.
Charging your phone like that would still take time. Let's leave it on sleep mode for now until we find somewhere safe and with reception.
Oh, okay.
But my dailies. She agreed to put her phone away without a fight. You can do your dailies when you're alive. Backpack on my shoulders, that metal pipe in my hand, and Yanshu following closely behind me. We resumed our journey at the bottom of the mountain. Or to the bottom of the mountain. We walked, and walked, and walked, for a long time. I couldn't tell how long we had been walking. Was this even downward? What if a monster appeared beyond the next bush? Every rustle of foliage, every breeze of mountain air, every little sound kept the two of us on the edge, especially when the ground went up and down, and shadows moved with the moon. Despite my anxieties, I kept my face stoic. If I broke down now, I would never make it through this game alive. Not just me, but her too. Eventually, Eleven's voice came out once again from the sky.
It is now the hour of the ox. You have 4 more hours to make it to the base of the mountain.
4 more hours meant that we had a little less than half the time left. I didn't know why the judge felt so kind to let us know the time, but something else she said bothered me. Hour of the ox? Oh my god, I was walking forward. Low-key jump scare.
It means the hours between 1 and 3 in the morning.
Oh, learn something new every day. We continued to walk, following the slight slope downward. Some mountains could take days to climb. The same probably held true for descending such mountains. I could only hope this wasn't one of them. Although my legs grew tired, I trekked onward with Yanshu. I could feel my pace slowing, but the distance between us seemed to be growing each moment. Thus, I slowed to a stop and turned to look at her. I couldn't keep ignoring the panting behind me. Yanshu really wasn't made for the outdoors. Yanshu, let's take a break. As soon as the words left my mouth, I felt the weight upon my shoulders rush through my whole body, and the aching of my feet intensified.
I can keep going.
I shook my head. No, I'm tired as well. This backpack is killing me. With a thump, I dropped the backpack to the ground and took a seat in the grassy patch by some foliage. I rubbed my shoulders, stretching a bit, and began to rummage through the backpack for food and water we found inside before. Some refreshments would go a long way right now. It was an awful night for a midnight picnic, but I handed her a bottle of water anyway. Rummaging through the snacks included in the lucky box, I picked out some potato chips and pretzels for Yanshu. She perked up immediately and took the bag, enthusiastically tearing it open and munching happily on the snacks. I smiled. She always looked the cutest eating her favorite salty foods. Then I bit back the smile and forced a frown. I need to stop thinking like this. We're down bad. We ate mostly in silence. Perhaps it was due to the fact that there was monsters hunting us, or perhaps it was due to this being the first meal we shared since breaking up. It didn't matter. I wasn't able to think of anything I was willing to say anyway. After eating, Yanshu sat cross-legged by me and took out her phone and hand crank. I suppose we were safer now than before since I didn't hear any monsters nearby. Taking a quick glance around, I couldn't see anything in our proximity. I couldn't scold her for this. She turned the crank in her hands, brows drawn and completely focused on the task. Yet the speed she was going at wouldn't generate nearly enough energy to charge a temporary lamp for 2 minutes, let alone a phone. Looking and shoot, scout the area. Saves. Give me the crank. Here, give it to me. Yanshu hesitated, but passed the crank to me. I started turning the handle at twice the speed she was. Still, it would take time to charge the phone. Barely a percent increase in battery showed after cranking it for 5 minutes. So, why do you bother with this? She looked up from her phone. Huh? Going to these lengths to keep a phone alive. We don't even have reception. A small smile graced her lips, reminding me of the time we were together. Yet, it was sadder than I remembered it to be. Was she not doing well? If she wasn't, then I was not gonna say anything, but I had a period in my life where I was like, yeah, maybe I can go by 11. Like, you know how sometimes Chinese people, when they go to foreign countries or if they move to like an English-speaking country, they'll pick like an English name. So I was like, okay, well then, if XI in Roman numerals is 11, then my English name could just be 11. Yeah, but too many names gets confusing. So 11 is the judge. Was she not doing well? If she wasn't, then
There's a lot of important things in this phone, so I don't want it to die.
I raised an eyebrow at her answer, unable to formulate words as the sound of the hand crank filled the silence between us. She still had that small, sad, but contented smile on her face, but it was directed at her phone. I see. I don't understand at all. What could be so good about a hunk of plastic and silicone? Whoa. Why did they break up? That's what I want to know! I hope I get to it! Oh my gosh. We sat in awkward silence, the sound of the rotating handle the only thing that filled the air and made it bearable. Otherwise, I might have run my mouth on an unfortunate topic like the weather. It's probably for the better that I had nothing to say.
You're so strong, Hailu.
Huh? Yanshu pressed her lips to a line, then looked away. Nothing.
Nothing. I just thought you're really brave being in this situation and all.
You too. I almost said, but bit the words back at the last minute. I wouldn't want to spoil her again now that she was finally being a bit independent. After 10 minutes of cranking passed in silence, I think the phone should be charged enough now. I stopped turning the hand crank and handed both items back to her, yet she putting them away wordlessly. It was time to get moving. We walked in silence again. There wasn't much to talk about, and most of our energy was spent keeping our ears and eyes out for monsters. After what felt like hours of being on edge, our fragile peace was destroyed. Perhaps we grew complacent. Perhaps the trees and bushes blocked the way, the moonlight hitting our eyes too harshly. Oh, ew. The chips again. I didn't know if I saw them first or heard them first. Oh god! Oh god! There's another one, and it's... ah! A pair of monsters knelt in a clearing, teeth ripping into the remains of someone's leg. White bone gleamed in the moonlight, sinew still fresh and red. I had barely the chance to exhale when their ears twitched and 4 red dots pointed in our direction. Uh-oh. Ah! Not again! I shoved Yanshu behind me as the first monster swiped at me. I barely parried it with the metal pipe.
Hyla, get out of here! Look for help and find a weapon!
We have a pipe! Another arm reached out to me and I smashed the pipe against it, the sound of nails on metal making me cringe. Oh god! Monster interrupted her with a howl, and I held the metal pipe in front of me just in time to block a maw of pointy, rotten teeth from biting my face off. Yanshu, listen to me. You're just a liability. Hurry up and get out of here! I want to say liability. I heard the crunch of leaves as she ran away. Looking back at the 2 monsters, I swallowed nervously. I put up a brave face in front of Yanshu, but all I wanted to do was run with her. But if I ran, then they would come after both of us. It would be the end for both of us. The monsters let out a growl, and the skin around their mouths, no, those weren't lips, stretched into what felt like a smile. The next sounds were breathy, repeated growls. Were they laughing? Fight, run! Fight! Their overconfidence annoyed me. Ah! I raised the pipe and dashed towards the closest monster. Yeah, whack him! The monster's eyes widened in surprise as I bashed its head with the pipe. It dropped to the ground, momentarily stunned as the other monster leapt towards me. I swiped the pipe again, hitting its shoulder, and thankfully was able to redirect its path enough to miss landing on me. The other monster was back. However, I barely rolled out of its way as it sank its claws into the ground where I was standing. I pushed myself up to a crouching position just in time for one of the monsters to leap at me again. No time to run. I raised the pipe in an attempt to shield myself, but... oh god. The monster screamed as the pipe snagged on its skin, slicing as I made the swing through its torso. It wasn't enough to kill it, but the monster dropped to the ground beside me, clutching itself and writhing in pain. The pipe, thanks to the momentum, bent at a near 90-degree angle. Oh jeez. The other monster looked at its companion, then back at me. I'm like, yeah, I killed your friend. What are you gonna do about it? I'll kill you too! Even if they understood my words, that was hardly a threat. It was certainly not scared. Ugh. The second monster leapt at me, and I held the pipe up to block. I'll outrun it. What is this? Is this like a goodbye? It was okay. She would come back. She might have been flaky and often useless, but she wasn't one to leave others behind, especially not against monsters and death. I just had to hold out until Yanshi came back. I changed my stance with the pipe at the last minute. Just as the monster reached out its claws, I swung the pipe back, hitting it right across the jaw and setting it flying, along with half the pipe. Oh, it was too short to be a weapon now. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. It was a good distance away. I was a good distance away, and the monster was still dazed from the hit I gave its head, but it wouldn't be long before it recovered. Should I try to run? How far would I be able to get? Could I actually outrun? A blur appeared before my eyes and cut my panicked thoughts short. Die! Carrying a large rock, she bashed it over the monster's head, yet Yanshu's skinny arms were unexpectedly able to carry its weight as she hit it over and over again. Oh my god. Oh my god. Combined with the blow I gave it earlier, the monster finally lost its strength to fight back and stopped moving at the ground by Yanshu's feet. Yanshu gasped as she dropped the rock, staring at the lifeless monster with tears in her eyes. She stumbled backward, lost, her arms shaking. Girl boss moment! The rock must have been heavy. Yet, as she looked towards me, safe and alive, she gave me an expression of relief that must have matched must have been matched by whatever expression was on my face right now. The monsters were defeated, and we were alright. However, I didn't know how many monsters there were on this mountain. If any of them heard the sound of our fight, then they might come this way. Neither Yanshu nor I were prepared to fight another set of monsters. The only thing we could do right now was run. Run to the finish line and get out of this madhouse. I pulled myself up and grabbed her arm, taking her with me away from the clearing. Don't get stunned now. We need to get out of here before more monsters come.
Right.
We ran and ran. I hoped that we were at least running in the direction of the finish line. After several minutes of running, we stopped to catch our breaths. There were no sounds of monsters nearby, so I dropped to the ground, adrenaline finally leaving me. Not a moment later, Eleven's voice boomed from the sky.
There's 1 hour remaining.
Oh, cool. 1 hour. We better hurry. No matter how tired we felt, we had to press forward. Yanshu nodded in agreement, and we continued the trek downward. Since there was barely an hour left, we decided to run. Oh. A few minutes later, the ground stopped sloping downward. I think we're close? My excitement was cut short by the sudden drop of a cliff a few meters in front of us.
It's not that bad. Oh, it's not that bad. We can make it down.
It was true. I could make out the ground beneath the cliff. Still, it wouldn't be an easy journey in the dark. Young man. Hello, someone up there. That's an old man. The sound of several voices caught our attention, and we noticed a group of people gathered beneath the cliff.
Hurry, you've made it! This is the finish line. You just have to get down the cliff.
My heart thumped with joy. Did you hear that?
Yes, Hailu. We did it. Let's hurry.
Well, let's not celebrate yet. Do you still have your phone?
Of course.
Yet she took the phone from her pocket and turned it on, the bright blue glow illuminating a multitude of footholds on the cliff's face.
This doesn't look bad at all.
Oh, this doesn't look bad at all. Even Yanshu nodded optimistically. We made it down the cliff fairly quickly, with just the glow of Yanshu's phone screen. Oh, congratulations!
You did it!
This is Evangelion. Congratulations! Congratulations! There was a sizable group of survivors past the finish line, but I wasn't told the initial number of participants. I could only hope most of us made it out safely. Yanshu was interrupted by the toll of a bell, and Eleven's voice reverberated from the heavens once more.
The first trial is now over. Congratulations to the players who have made it to the finish line.
Ooh, that transition was so cool. Before we could celebrate, the blinding white light enveloped us. I covered my face with my arms reflexively and squeezed my eyes shut. There are dogs outside. I'm sorry if you can hear that. And when I opened them... I'm sorry. Oh yeah, I recognize this background. I'm sorry. I know you don't have a background artist. It's fine. It's fine. You make the most of what you got. Honestly, like a lot of the transitions and like the use of like camera moving and then like extra effects and all that have been really really good so far. And like you know, like it's really good, but I know that the backgrounds are from like free background sources, and this is also a free background, and it's actually the background of the protagonist's home of a mobile gacha game called Act Addict Actors that I was obsessed with, and I'm less obsessed with, but I was very obsessed with, right? So the moment I saw it, I was not expecting to see this scene right now. It was shock. I'm sorry. But yes, living rooms, yes. Sorry. The first person who recognized it. Yeah, I just happened to be in the right circles, I guess. It was a shock. But it is a good background, I don't blame you. I found myself in the comfort of my own living room, the one I used to share with Yanshu. Although this apartment was familiar place. It is familiar. It felt painfully empty now. Yanshu, was she alright? We both made it over the finish line, but... No, wait, Wait, are we back home? So we're back home. Are we alive? I took a deep breath, recategorizing the events in my head as I grounded myself. I was in my apartment. I'd been sleeping, so... Was it a dream? It was unsettling how realistic that dream was. With a sigh, I heaved myself up to a sitting position on the couch and attempted to recall the events of my supposed dream. But I thought we had to do okay, we had to do 3 tests, right? The images that flashed through my mind gave me a shiver down my spine. The sounds, the darkness, the exhaustion of hiking for 9 hours. Not to mention the... Wait, a background in A3? Yeah, I'll roll back. Or actually, we'll probably go back. Hang on. The sounds, the darkness, the exhaustion of hiking for 9 hours. Not to mention the inhuman claws, the scraping rows of sharp teeth. Wow, I love those acrylics on you. Sorry. Just a dream. Just a dream. It was just a dream. I tried to tell myself those words, but it felt rather realistic for a nightmare. Hi, hello! Oh my gosh. Yeah, oh, actually, can I say, the UI? This is really cool, but I really like how you have this text box opacity adjuster. This is really neat, I must say. Okay. So thank you for stopping by! Also, Nick, if you're interested, this is the A3 background. As I filed away the smell of Monster's breath on me into the depths of my memory, I remembered something softer as well. About 11, about Yanshu. Softer? Oh, roll back. I'm sorry. I chuckled softly to myself and buried my face in my hands. It must be really desperate for me to dream about my ex. I broke up with her. Or I broke up with her. I had no right to dream about her like this. Nightmare, I corrected myself like it was any consolation. She wasn't the bad guy in my dream, nor was she the bad guy of my life. Things just simply didn't work out. However, the Yanshu that appeared in my dream was different. It wasn't the Yanshu I remembered breaking up with. Although she was still that soft and gentle girl, I felt as if something had changed since the last time I saw her, despite not much time passing at all. I felt a pang in my mind, or I felt a pang of pain in my head as I tried to think about time. Yet, thinking of her, I couldn't help but smile, a slightly sour smile that I would dream of her, albeit different. In the end, her presence made me happy. Maybe this nightmare couldn't be fully called a nightmare. Oh, I see. Yeah, this is really cool. I lifted up my head with a sigh. It was hard to uncoat sugar once it had been applied. I wouldn't be as surprised if I was the bad guy of her nightmares. It was also hard to undo cruelty once it had been done to another person. I shook my head, trying to think of something else. 11. I didn't think my brain was capable of dreaming up someone as beautiful as 11. Stare. Cruelty. Someone's beautiful. I think basically, we done fucked up, and then we broke off with Yanshu, and now we're guilty as shit. Or we feel really guilty, or not guilty. What if it? I don't know. Regretful? Just bad vibes. Perhaps I took too much note of Yanshu's soap operas. She looked like she walked right out of one of them. Judge of the 11th Court. For someone who presided over games, she didn't seem to enjoy much of it. Well, nightmares never made sense. They just existed to scare people. I couldn't help but wonder, for someone as beautiful as 11 to exist in a nightmare, was it really a nightmare? Perhaps she was the silver lining of that cloud. Silver. I hummed to myself as I thought about 11. Silver didn't suit her. She was certainly a bright and vibrant red fighting against a black cloud. Then again, I knew nothing at all about her. If it was any consolation for me, at least I had Yanshu with me in that dream and met a beautiful game master in 11. Yet, my nerves wouldn't relax. Monsters lingered in the shadows. I seemed to see them in every dark corner, even behind my own closed eyelids as I blinked. Enough. I couldn't keep thinking about this. I told myself to stop, but my brain kept replaying the horrifying images each time I closed my eyes. I need a breath of fresh air. I stood and strided to the door, opening it with gusto into the void. My apartment living room had no windows. Outside the front door should face out to the connecting hallways of the building, which also had no windows. At least, that was how it should have been normally. But instead, what reached me was black. Thick darkness covered every part of the world outside my apartment door and began to churn as if it noticed me. As my brain scrambled to make sense of this, to debate my next actions, a cold hand delicately covered mine and pushed the door closed. Oh. Hey, you! I turned to look over my shoulder, only to find 11 standing directly behind me, our faces inches apart as we stared into each other's eyes. How romantic. My brain fried itself as my face heated up. My heart skipped a beat. She was in a dream.
I didn't even think anyone would open this door so quickly.
What's going on?
I told you, you died.
It really wasn't a dream. All the feelings I had thinking about Yanxi and 11 washed over me again, paired with the nauseating sense of dread. He was dead. There were monsters.
This is just a liminal space for recess between games.
So it's fake?
Perhaps.
Oh, she zoomed in. 11 glanced around, as if curious about the layout of my apartment.
Why don't you leave me around?
Alright. Despite her asking the question, she showed a muted surprise at my response. Perhaps that hadn't been a serious request. Would you like some tea? Or do you have some other contestant to visit?
Most contestants don't feel the need to leave their places of comfort after her harrowing experience.
I'm pretty unique then. I spotted the start of a smile on her lips, as though my joke brought actual amusement. Yet it disappeared so quickly, and might as well have been my own hopeful imagination. I led her out of the living room toward the kitchen. The kitchen was in the back of the apartment, past the bedrooms and the bathroom. The thought of bedrooms made me pause. Without thinking, I came to a stop at the first bedroom in the hallway. Rather than waiting for 11, who hadn't even stepped out of the living room yet, I was simply unable to move on. This had been Mimi Yanshu's room when we were still dating, and I had a feeling that she was sitting within that room right now. The implications of the game came rushing back to me, the things and conversations I had ignored for the sake of time. Yanshu was also dead. How could that happen? She was alive and well when I last saw her. I didn't want to believe it. We might not have worked well together, but I didn't want her to be dead. We were in love, you know? We were dating. How can she be dead? She doesn't deserve it.
You're not dating anymore. Why do you care so much?
I couldn't find an answer. I knew the answer, but I didn't want to face it. Thus, I changed the topic again. Why are we both here? If we died, but how? So we died, but how did we end up in the same game?
Luck, circumstances, chance. You won your spin to win. You both died sinners.
I wonder what my sin was. I didn't live as a perfect human being, but what had I done that was so terrible that I'd be called a sinner in the afterlife?
You would have known if you compare the 8 characters.
The 8 characters were nothing more than feudal superstition, cosmological astrology, centered around the concept that human fate could be determined by the date of one's birth. She hasn't moved on! Yeah!
Fate is set in stone. Humans used to be so careful about it, plan for the future, yet they don't do it anymore. They even search for your own partners rather than consulting it carefully for everyone that involves. It's not selfish, it's stupid.
For how much you believe in fate, you sure try to fight it.
said so.
Did I touch a nerve? Perhaps I shouldn't keep bothering her. What should I do? I need to know what happened. I wasn't sure how to change the subject, so I placed my hand on the doorknob. Before I twisted it open, I turned back to 11. Sorry, I just want to check on Yanxi first. But I was greeted by a blank space where she once stood. Ah, she must have had other contestants to check up on. I tried to bury the sudden pang of hurt. Oh, cute! I opened the door to a familiar room, cute to the brim, a clash against the more rustic look of the rest of my apartment. The room was decorated with more stuffed toys than I had owned my entire life. But I didn't mind because every time I got her a new one, she would smile brighter than the moon during mid-autumn. This room fitted her so well. It would always make space in my life for Mimi. No, I didn't. And the differences became too much when the pink seemed to be frail and suffocated in this small space. It was the right thing to do to tell the pink to go elsewhere, to grow into its own space instead. Yet I missed the pink and the way it filled the space perfectly after she left. It was better than bare walls and empty silence. Yanxi was sitting in the middle of the room on the rug, her back against the bed, and Mr. Meows in her arms. Mr. Meows! Beside her, an open can of beer on the rug rested by her knee.
Lulu!
And the beer spilled all over the rug.
Oh no!
She hurried to pick the can up, to stop the onslaught of fizzy liquid from staining the carpet, but the can slipped from her hand again, and landed within the soggy mess. Hold on, let me get some napkins. I gathered paper towels from the kitchen to absorb the liquid, then got some soap to wash out the sticky residue. I think we'll have to throw the whole thing in the washing machine.
I think it's hand wash only.
What a high maintenance rug. How bad could beer damage a rug? My eyes drifted to the can that was now placed on solid ground beside the rug. That brand tasted like shit.
It's cheap and gets the job done.
How did she... Was Yanxi always this good at reading me? Until your rug gets thirsty. Besides, you make more than enough to treat yourself to some better drinks.
It's pointless without someone to drink it with.
Was it selfish of me to feel relieved at those words? I didn't want to dwell on it. I'm surprised you're dead. You're always the cautious type. I stopped scrubbing the rug for a brief moment. Perhaps not the best evidence for my words.
Cautious enough to make mistakes.
Death isn't just a simple mistake. If I had been with her, would she still be alive? I always did do everything for her. It made me feel good, needed, to be relied on like that. Like I was the shining star that supported her whole life. But it was too much. It didn't matter how much I liked her. It didn't how much that hit of dopamine gave me. Nick, please. Simping is okay if it's mutual simping. It was not good for us. I had other issues. I couldn't let her rely on me the whole time. I couldn't be there doing all her things for her when she had my own baggage to unpack. When I still had my own baggage to unpack. And she wound up dead because of it. My fingers squeezed the paper towels. Conflict boiled in my heart. I didn't want to think about it.
How's your new apartment?
It's closer to my workplace, and there's a lot of restaurants nearby. See, she's doing just fine, I told myself. Oh wait, no, shit, I think I messed it up. How's your new apartment, I say?
Huh? Oh, it's closer to my workplace and there's a lot of restaurants nearby.
I was wondering, I was confused, I was like, wait, I thought she moved out. Okay. Great! Then once we finish these games and go back to our lives, you won't go hungry as long as you can practice ordering food by yourself. I regretted my words the moment they slipped past my tongue. I didn't mean to make them so bitter, so accusing. I mean...
Next time we eat together, I'll order. It'll be my treat.
I bit back my skepticism. Yanxi always struggled to get a word out for what she wanted to eat. Whether it was ordering over the phone or eating out, she would timidly point out the exact dish she wanted, but push the menu to me when the waitress came by. Alright. Even if it was an empty promise, at least she was trying. I threw the last paper towel into the trash. For a liminal space made out made for our comfort. It sure took effort to get the beer out of the rug. I think that's the best we'll be able to clean it.
Thank you.
The sound of a bell rang before I could turn and reply to her. Oh. I found myself in an endless black void again, accompanied only by the image of a wooden door a few feet away from me. Why prolong the inevitable? I opened the door and walked through. The same light as before covered my entire body, prompting me to close my eyes till I reached the second test. Oh, the ground underneath my feet seemed to change. I opened my eyes to the sight of a large western mansion. The low, confused chatter of human voices surrounded me. Glancing around, I found that I was within a small crowd of people. I recognized as survivors from the previous round, strangers aside from our shared misfortune. Oh, she's so far. Yeah, she stood a few paces away. Her eyes met mine, and we exchanged looks. I walked closer to her. The air stilled. The chatter suddenly stopped. Oh, she's so far away. With light footsteps that could barely be heard in the newfound silence, 11 walked up and stood before the small crowd.
Welcome to the second round of your trial. I'll explain the rules of this game.
At that moment, a fellow survivor rushed at 11. Oh, the hell with your rules! They raised their fist with the intention to beat 11. They're zooming. Yet 11 did not move or scream. Flicking her wrist, she slipped a scalpel out from her sleeve and swiftly threw the blade at the enraged survivor. The scalpel embedded itself in their forehead. Ah. Oh! Oh! A trickle of blood rolled down from the wound. Then they collapsed to the ground. Their body fell apart, limbs looking as if they had been hacked apart with a saw, and began to bloat, discoloring dark and putrid. Ew, what the hell? Like a murder victim, dismembered and disposed of in a river. I looked away.
If I must, I will remind you that I am the judge of your trial. Follow etiquette of the court, lest you be thrown out from the game of life.
Oh. Why are you excited about someone dying, Nick? 11 gestured to the air. Help? Oh, okay. A group of maids whose features I could not see walked up to us. They squatted down by the corpse and began to pick it up, tearing apart any remaining large pieces to better carry. Ew. Without speaking, all but one maid returned to the mansion, taking all the traces of the dead body with them.
Now then, the rules. You will be guests at this mansion for the next 3 days and 2 nights, where you will be participating in the second round of your trials. Within the period of the test, you must find the trial key hidden within the mansion grounds. There will be a feast for the king of the 11th course in the evening of the 3rd night, which marks the deadline for this game. Her voice seemed to twist as she mentioned the king. If one of you is able to find the key, then all remaining guests will be considered to have won this round. Similarly, if no one of you is able to find the key, then everyone will be considered to have lost and be served a meal at the feast. Served as a meal at the feast. Oh. Yikes. Collective punishment, collective victory. Oh, and you will know that you have found the key when you see it. Good luck. Ella made a little clap of encouragement. The servant will escort you inside. Gesturing to the remaining maid, 11 turned and walked into the mansion. The maid bowed. Maid is glitchy. Welcome, guest. Please follow me. I'm sure it's not a robot, but her voice held an unnatural rasp that made my gut churn. Oh. The maid led the group inside the mansion, pointing out the doors to the dining room, where we will have meals before leading us to a hallway with many doors. This maid portrait is very scary. Fancy. It is fancy. She walked us down the hallway, pointing each person to one door, stating that those were their assigned rooms. My room and Yan Shu's room were 4 doors away from each other.
Curfew's after dark. Please stay inside your rooms after curfew. That will be all.
Why does the maid sound like a small child? The maid bowed and ran away. She zoomed away. Our survival group idled in the hallway, waiting for someone to make the first move. Finally, a woman spoke up.
Hey, let's have everyone search their rooms and then meet up out here in the hallway again to make a plan.
You really think they'll put the key in the bedroom?
Better safe than sorry.
A few murmurs, complaints, agreements sounded out. Sure, that sounds fine with me. Yanshu nodded. Okay. Thus, after the group came to a consensus, I went to my assigned room to check for the key. Fitting with the lock of the mansion, the room was a Western-style room. I sifted through the furniture and looked under the bed, mattress, pillows, and so on. However, I found no key. Before long, I returned to the hallway where half the group had already regrouped. A minute later, Yanshu came out of her room and shuffled to my side. The rest of the group returned with time. Anyway, you said something about a plan. Got anything, lady?
That's what we're here to discuss.
With less cohesion than soapy water, the group started grumbling and debating on what to do. Noisy. They were really noisy. Or they were noisy. Words. Yanshu fidgeted, her eyes darting to the floor to avoid the attention of any of the other survivors. She seemed a little pale. I cleared my throat, prompting a few survivors to look my way. Taking advantage of the short dip in noise, I raised my voice. I believe it's best if we all split up and investigate separately to cover more ground. We can regroup over meals in the dining room to discuss our findings.
That would work with me.
Some more noise. Whatever. See you when these creepy maids call for mealtime then. At long last, the group dispersed, walking off in different directions to search for the key. I let out a sigh I didn't know I had been holding in. I swept my bangs out of my face and turned to Yanshu, who hadn't left with the other survivors. Let's go.
Hmm.
We walked together out of the hallway with the guest rooms. Making a random turn, we looked around for any hints of the special key that Eleven mentioned. While the key wasn't as kind as to be sitting on the ground in the middle of the hallway, we soon happened upon a large plaque on the wall, classical script carved into bronze. I narrowed my eyes to decipher the riddle. Reading the text aloud, Yanshu snapped a picture of the plaque with her phone that she had brought out to document the mansion. Oh.
The Marshal of Central Altar sleeps at the hour of the dragon and snake, together with the sacrifices key, cursing the father blessed by the gods.
Even spoken aloud, it seems like gibberish. It looks like a hint for where the key is located, but what does it mean?
Dragon and snake curse? It's kind of ominous. I don't know.
Or maybe, was that me? Oh no, that was her. Okay.
I don't know. Maybe it's referring to a place in the mansion that we haven't been to yet.
I nodded.
Then again, it could be a red herring. If it isn't, then we would be the sacrifices.
Sacrifices to be eaten, huh? It's kind of unpleasant that whoever wrote this decided already that we're gonna lose. Ugh, it makes me want to prove them wrong even more. You took a picture, right?
Huh?
We can think about this riddle more and review the text from your phone later then. We had barely just started investigating this mansion. What would be our best bet? With the size of the mansion and the low survivor count from the first round, 3 days wouldn't be enough to dig through every nook and cranny. I need to know. Okay. Still, 2 parts of eyes would be better than 1. Shall we keep investigating together? I held out my hand to Yanshu, but she hesitated.
Yeah, I'd be happy to.
She took my hand. We continued exploring the mansion, checking the corners of hallways, entering rooms here and there. For each new location, Yanshu took a number of photos, stating that it would be easier to zoom into details and review locations with her phone. Oh. Zigzagging around the halls, we eventually exited the mansion through a side door in the southeast section. We reached an outdoor garden. By the garden was a pretty pond with lotus flowers floating on the water's surface. The garden too was filled with greenery and blossoms. For all that the mansion was disconcerting. I can only call this garden pretty. So there's a place like this here too. We walked around the garden for an initial look, peeking at the plants and soil. I spotted a bed of orchids and approached it, squatting in front of a section of white orchids. Turning my head to Yanshu, who seemed confused, I couldn't help but smile. This flower suits you. Besides the white orchids were a section of pink ones as well.
I think they suit you more.
Yanshu walked up to the flower bed, and I leaned down to pick a single orchid blossom. She made a gesture offering it up to me, so I tilted my head instinctively. Thus, she tucked it above my ear, which tickled my girlish heart. Perhaps I made a strange expression.
Orchids are perennials, so as long as they're correctly planted, you only have to plant them once and they'll come back every year for 2 decades. One blossom won't kill it.
What is this flirting?
Although, if we're dead, then certainly they should also be dead.
Too bad. They really are pretty. I stood back up, and the two of us finished surveying the garden's general appearance. No hints of the key could be found from the light overview. A light breeze blew by. The weather was fine today. Let's split the garden and search through the flower beds? I looked toward Yanshu, wondering if I should have specified how we were splitting this task, but it seemed that I didn't need to.
You take the right side?
Sure. We split, heading to our respective sides. I squatted down by the flower beds and parted them, checking through the dirt and the crevices hidden by their leaves and petals. A good while passed. As I lifted my hand to wipe some sweat that was cooled by the breeze, I noticed something. Before I realized it, the little flower in my hair had already been blown away. Ah. No! A little disappointed, I returned to my task. Despite the length of the tedious labor, I found nothing. I wondered if I had to uproot the flowers, but not only did it seem extreme, I didn't have the tools for digging. Finished, I stood back up. My knees made a little cracking noise from my back. Creaking noise. Cracking. I read it right the first time. What am I doing? For my back, that felt sorer than it should have. Getting old. I rejoined Yanshu, who had also finished.
Any luck?
No. She shook her head, and I let out a sigh. What does this key even look like? You'll know it when you see it? Unfortunately, it seems like we haven't seen it just yet.
Maybe the key is a lie. Like the cake? I'm happy at the very least that they were kind enough to give us a couple of days before executing us.
Are you giving up? Yanshu looked at me.
No, not this time. How could I give up just yet when I've been so lucky to meet you again after death?
Then let's pass all 3 rounds.
Yeah.
Let's go back inside?
Just one more thing.
Oh. She retrieved her phone from her pocket and quickly went around the garden to snap photos from every angle. She zoomed in. Yet she looked lonely, holding that phone so carefully. I wondered how long she had the phone case. That kitty phone strap. I couldn't quite remember when she had bought it, but perhaps it was far back as college. She finished up the photos in no time. Then we returned inside the mansion. Oh god. For whatever reason, our timing coincided, good one, she, with that of many maidservants milling around the hallway connected to the side door in the southeast quadrant. Yanshu and I moved to the side of the hallway to avoid them while walking, falling into a single file line of 2. I felt Yanshu tug on the edge of my jacket, and I turned around to face her.
Can we share a room tonight? I don't feel safe sleeping here alone.
I shot a quick glance at the maids, feeling the hairs on my arms begin to stand. Of course. Let's go to my room together before curfew. For a moment, I thought about the past, a room we shared and a room we didn't. Once upon a time, she was a girl who I loved, a girl who loved me. Right now, we're no more than friends by my own will. I held her hand and hurried away from the servants. It would be nice to find the key soon. Investigation continued for a while longer, to no avail, before everyone was called for dinner by the voice of a maid from an invisible intercom. I sat next to Yanshu at the big dining table. Looking around the table, I noticed an empty seat. The young man from before never showed up for dinner. No one had succeeded in finding the key yet. The servants served dinner, and few words were exchanged between us survivors. After eating, we all headed back to our rooms to rest for the evening. Oh my god, is this a there was only one bed scenario? I mean, what? I walked into my assigned room, turning on the light, before Yanshu followed me in. She glanced around the room and let out a hum of contemplation.
The layout of my assigned room looks the exact same.
So all the guest rooms look the same.
Maybe.
After freshening up in the attached washroom, the two of us sat on the bed, on the only bed in the room. Yes, the singular one bed that both of us must sleep on. I plopped I plopped down onto my back, enjoying the soft bounce of the mattress. I put my arms behind my head and let my legs dangle off the edge of the bed. I looked toward her from the odd low angle as she retrieved her phone hand crank and began to charge her phone. And they were roommates. Oh my god, they were roommates. She really was slow. I sat up thinking that I'd do it for her instead since I could crank it at least 2 times faster. Then I froze. Was it really better for me to do it? It was also because I always did this that we fell apart. Back when we were still dating, I had always been trying to take over what Yanshi had been doing, whether out of impatience or arrogance. She didn't blame me, but I had blamed her for letting me.
I'm happy.
Her soft voice broke me out of my thoughts. Oh, why?
I'm happy that despite our breakup, we can still sit around like this and spend time together.
We were originally friends before we dated.
That we were. Have I known you for almost half my life now?
Oh, that makes me feel old when you say that.
I still remember being a student like it was just yesterday, although I don't particularly want to go back and relive those days.
Thinking about something?
Nothing in particular.
Afterlife. Yep, and it will remain afterlife since they are dead. Oh, ah! Shakes both of them.
Although, there was that time we studied all day, every day for weeks on end, just despite our class's top-ranking students.
My dark history.
Our gallant class topper, Qian Haili. Right, that term, that is.
Says number 2. Grandma was proud, but also worried, so she made me promise not to overdo it in the future.
I personally found it a little charming.
Do you secretly like nerdy people?
It's not about that, but that you were working hard for your goal. That and the usual first place student really was an insecure jerk. I don't even remember what she said to me that time, but I do remember you snapping at her. Next thing I knew, you'd thrown yourself at studying.
Is that so? I vaguely remembered that I hated the guts of our class's first place student. A wave of nostalgia ran over me as we chatted about our high school days. We were already quite close during high school. Both decent students, we ended up attending the same college as well, one with a high-ranking biology program located near our hometown. It really did seem like we'd known each other for a long time.
Do you remember our military training at the start of college?
Like every Chinese first-year undergraduate, we participated in mandatory 2-week-long military drills at the start of our college life after a relaxing end to high school.
Don't remind me of that.
Wait, oh shit. I was the one who said that. I'm sorry. I keep messing it up.
Don't remind me of that.
Her hand crank slowed.
There was too much sun. Whoever decided that all college students have to exercise under the summer sun should be purged.
Well, I think not wearing sunscreen also contributed to the sunburn.
Blech, sunscreen. Like I said back then, I'm never setting foot in the sun again if I don't have to.
As a working adult, you don't have to go out in the sun like that anymore, but don't you still need a little light to be healthy?
My vitamin supplements are covering it. Don't laugh. You also bought me a bottle of gummy vitamins and a sun umbrella, so you're contributing to it.
Sorry.
I think I might actually have a picture from around then.
Yeah, she stopped cranking and instead turned the phone screen on, opening up her photo gallery app and scrolling through a myriad of pictures. I peeked over her shoulders to see many nostalgic moments recorded in her gallery. Finally, she stopped on a picture and clicked on it. Picture expanded, showing a photo of her looking rather crispy, and me slathering on globs of white sunscreen onto her face. This was probably around 3/4 of the way through the military training when she finally agreed to use sunscreen. Who took this photo?
Byamudia? I don't know. She sent it to me as part of her commemorative album.
That was the name of a college classmate. What a nostalgic name. I haven't talked with Baimutia in a while. Next thing we know, we're going to be meeting up with her for an alumni anniversary event, and she'll be dragging along a child with her girlfriend.
Words that come from someone who's aging. Yeah, you shouldn't say. Well, I mean, we're not really. We are dead. Did you forget?
Yeah, she resumed charging her phone with a hand crank, and we chatted a little longer. The night deepened. I let out a yawn and stretched my arms. She finished with her phone charger and put it away into her pocket, shaking her wrist. Then, catching my yawn, she yawned as well.
Let's go to bed.
Oh, let's go to bed now? Yeah, she groggily nodded. Fuck. Yawn, nod. I slipped off the bed to turn off the light. Good night.
Night.
We tucked into bed, taking one half each. I couldn't help but notice that both of us kept a space between each other. I closed my eyes, feeling the day's exhaustion run over my body, and... Oh, knock knock.
Who's there?
Orange.
Orange who?
Orange, you glad I didn't say banana. Someone is at the door. Intending to get out of bed and answer, I shifted. No. Don't open the door.
Don't open the door.
Sure. Knock. Knock, 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 knock. A chill ran down my spine. Propping myself up to my side with my elbow, I gazed toward the door that was still closed and locked from the inside. Whoever was knocking at the door had no intention of opening the door. However, the knocking continued for much longer than any sane human would knock for, the party beyond the door never saying a word. Finally, the knocking stopped. I breathed in a sharp breath of air and glanced back at Yanxu, who was also now looking at the door. Click. I heard the muffled sound of the survivor next door opening their door. Then the woman screamed. Oh, and stopped screaming with a squelch, which I shouldn't have been able to hear through the wall. Yanshu grabbed onto my shirt, making me flinch, and buried her face into my back. Yanshu was trembling. From the other room came more sounds, crunching, cracking, splattering, which made my stomach turn with nausea, and my vision began to undulate in the darkness. I breathed in and out, focusing on Yanshu. It's okay. It's not in our room. It's okay. We're safe. My words were both for her and for myself. Eventually, the sounds from the other room stopped. We waited in trepidation. The thing at the door was probably... Footsteps passed, and no more sounds, no more knocking came. I watched the door for a while longer, letting Yanshu hold on to me, until we concluded that we were safe for now. At long last, I closed my eyes and slept. Daylight came in an instant. The morning was spent searching for the key without results. Noon came and passed. Yanshu and I scouted out the mansion in places we had yet to touch. As I ran my hand along a wall, hoping to feel the key under the wallpaper, something shifted beneath my feet and palm. Oh. The ground rotated, opening up the wall and throwing me to the other side before promptly sealing the wall shut again. The momentum of the trapdoor threw me off balance, and I fell to the ground.
Hi, Lu.
Ow! I pushed myself back to my feet, patting off my hands. Are you alright?
Or are you alright?
I heard Yanshu push at the wall with no avail. She seemed to be smacking it and even kicked it, the thuds carrying through better than her voice. I'm alright, I called her across the wall. Looking around, this hallway didn't seem to be directly connected to the hallway I had just left by accident. I tried pushing at the wall from my side, but I couldn't get the trapdoor to open up again either. But it doesn't look like I can get back to you easily. Let's split up for now so we don't waste any time.
But
There's only a day and a half left to find the key. Daylight still trickled in from the nearby windows. However, given the little progress made by the shrinking group of survivors, we couldn't waste precious time.
See you at
See you at dinner?
Okay, see you at dinner.
Thus, I turned away from the trapdoor wall and began exploring the new section I found myself in. Hearing a quiet cracking sound, I proceeded closer and found a fireplace. Embedded discreetly in the wall, the flames danced and flickered, radiating red warmth. They seemed to reach out toward me, causing me to stumble back. An image of fire flashed in the back of my head. Sudden sharp pain spiked through my skull, and I grasped at my head with a groan. I lost my sense of equilibrium, backing into a wall so that I could lean against it. I grit my teeth. The flames were in my eyes. I choked, feeling a strange rawness in my throat. Using the wall as support, I slowly made my way from that area. Although my breathing cleared, a dull headache and unsteadiness persisted. So focused on my discomfort, I didn't notice the footsteps approaching. That was when the air seemed to freeze. Hello? Hello? And, an unfamiliar monster. Oh, she's getting closer. An unfamiliar monster. A tall woman with red hair and her entourage of followers passed by me. Every cell in me screamed to get away from her. Hello, ma'am. Already lightheaded from the episode before, I felt I couldn't breathe under her suffocating aura. I met her eyes, a mismatched red and orange. And my consciousness cut out. But the marshal of the central altar, sleeps at the hour of the dragon and the snake. Together with the sacrifice's key, cursing the father blessed by the gods. With the deadline looming over our heads, one had to ask, what was the meaning of the dragon and the snake? The time? Time? For example, the time at which the key would reveal itself. That seemed terribly unfair. Had anyone ever said that the trial would be fair? In the previous game, 11 had used the old-fashioned way of saying time with animals, therefore the dragon and snake could certainly have been the same. I tried to think of what time those animals referred to. A voice in my head spoke. The hour of the dragon and the hour of the snake referred to a period between 7 a.m. to 11 a.m. If that were the case, then we had only one more chance. My thoughts ended. Suddenly, I was snapped back to reality by someone shaking my shoulder, and that someone's familiar voice.
Hi, Lou.
Black spots faded away from my vision. I stumbled right into the person who was shaking me, nearly knocking us both down before I regained my bearings. Yeshu? The last thing I remembered, I had lost consciousness, apparently standing, after seeing a strange woman. I didn't know how much time had passed since. The sun had set. More than that, the sky was pitch black. Unease ran through my chest. Time is it?
Just about curfew. You missed dinner and you weren't in your room, so I came out to find you. I was scared that... Why did you miss dinner?
Fast footsteps and a sharp scraping noise cut off my words. Oh, shit. At the end of the hall, I spotted a pair of maids. No, nothing about them looked human. I spotted a pair of monsters, who had certainly spotted us with their many eyes. So, what if, like, the maids are just, like, the same monsters from the last test? But they're just wearing married uniforms. They transform and their hands, like, grow claws in the mouth with the teeth.
We have to run.
Yanshu and I began to run in the opposite direction of the monsters, which similarly began to sprint after us. We quickly reached a fork, causing me to hesitate for a moment. I didn't know where this was. I didn't know the best way to go. I didn't know if I'd run into a dead end. We didn't have time to hesitate. Yanshu grabbed my hand.
This way.
The sound of monsters sounded right next to my ears. Hugging, she pulled me along to run. We ran, making turns here and there until I was dizzy. We ran. Oh gosh. Yet for every meter we ran, the monsters seemed to move too. Their movements scraping against the floor, their eyes so terribly hungry that as they pierced our backs, the monsters were gaining on us. Still holding Yanshi's hand, I felt her begin to lag and pant. I knew where we were now. Seeing the monster reach out to grab Yanshi, I yanked her out of the wall and practically dragged her to run as I chucked a random object in the hall straight into the monster's face. We had to go. We had to run! We were so close to safety! My assigned room was only a few meters away. The monsters were even closer. Through sheer force of will, I pushed Yanshi through the door and slid into the room. Slam! The moment my entire body was inside the room, I slammed the door shut, smashing it against the fingers of one of the monsters that had reached to grab us. Ignoring the wriggling digits that turned to black ooze, I locked the door. The ooze dripped to the floor and evaporated. Knock, 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 knock. Neither Yanshi nor I were foolish enough to open the door. I watched the door and backed away further into the room, picking up any solid object that I could use to bash the monsters with should they make their way into the room. My heart was about to beat out of my chest. Knock, 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 knock. Okay. Not once did the monsters seem to touch the handle or try to open the door. I wonder if the monsters had to follow rules for the game as well. Finally, the knocking stopped. Only once I heard the monsters leave did I return to the makeshift weapon I picked up back to its original position.
Are they gone?
I think so. I collapsed like a slug face first into the bed, rolling around onto my back to more easily breathe. My limbs felt like jelly. Seeing Yanshi sit down on the bed next to me, I pushed myself up to a sitting position to accompany her. Thanks.
Huh?
For saving me. She shook her head. Oh,
I don't know what happened. I saw this ominous woman, and then I just blacked.
Oh, that's me. I don't know what happened. I saw this ominous woman, and then I just blacked out. She wasn't one of the survivors or one of the servants.
So that's what happened? I was really worried.
If you hadn't come to find me, then I think I would have been a goner.
I'd hate that. No one at dinner found the key today either, so we were here for another night.
No luck on my end. Let us sigh. Sitting in subdued silence, Yanshi retrieved her phone from her pocket.
I have some pictures of the mansion that I want to review.
Oh, I'll look too. I scooted closer to her on the bed, my fingers brushing against her hand by accident. Oh, touching tips. Sorry. We reviewed the dozens, maybe even hundreds of photos that Yanshi took of various places across the mansion grounds. Not one hint of the key could be found. Let's go back to the riddle we saw on the first day. Yanshi opened the phone of the plaque. The Marshal of the Central Altar sleeps at the hour of the dragon snake, together with the sacrifice's key, cursing the father blessed by the gods. Who is the Marshal of Central Altar supposed to be? Central Altar? Noja? I don't know. I'm not caught up with my myths. I have no idea, bro. Is it Noja? The title tugged at my memory buried deep within my mind. A name danced at the tip of my tongue, something I remember from when I was younger. I seem to have watched a show as a child with a character with that title. Noja.
Is Noja the Marshal of Central Altar?
Noja is the Marshal of the Central Altar. Is he? By the way, for the longest time, I thought Noja was a girl. Okay, I was very disappointed to find out that Noja was actually not a girl, and actually a guy. But just a child that looked feminine. Okay. It's his Taoist name. Another one of his titles is Third Lotus Prince.
Because he was reborn from Lotus Fruits?
Oh, because he was born from Lotus Roots?
It's his Taoist name, another one of his titles, yes, okay. Yes, okay, maybe?
Although adaptations of Journey to the West far outnumber those focused on Noja, I had still watched a few cartoons and dramas focusing on Noja when I was younger. Oh right, there is that new one that came out. Well, it was a 3D animation one. Yeah. Where it was very anime. The climax was very anime. He was a mythological figure, a mischievous boy born out of a ball of flesh after a gestation period of over 3 years. Gestation? Popping out of the flesh ball as a fully grown boy rather than an infant after the ball was cut open by his father, the boy proceeded to kill a dragon god at some point. Amidst various shenanigans which may have had liberties taken with them for the sake of television. Neja died and was brought back to life via lotus root by his Taoist master. After a conflict with his father, Neja ended up being trapped in a golden I don't know how to say this word, given to his father by the gods to tame Neja, or so the adaptation I was familiar with went. The boy deity also appeared in Journey to the West, and its various adaptations with a slightly different backstory. With Neja as the marshal of the central altar, as well as a character with enmity against his father, I felt he must have been relevant to the riddle for describing our key. I think we're onto something. The problem was that neither Yanxi nor I could figure out the last piece of the puzzle to connect us to the answer. After mulling over the riddle for a while longer, the two of us tucked in for bed. Night passed. See, I have no idea about the puzzle either. I've got zero theories. Because I'm like, my only theory was that when they said time of dragon and snake, I was like, oh, like the one they mentioned about the ox, so it's probably has to do with the time. That was the only thing in my head, and then now that that's covered, I have no idea where we go from there in the genre. Morning came and passed as well, uneventfully with no key in sight for any of the survivor group. Any survivors still left, including Yanxu and I, gathered in the dining room during lunch, feeling the pressure of the now looming deadline. Less than half a day remained. No one knew where the key could be. Although I had missed dinner the previous night, I could clearly see that the survivor count had decreased between yesterday noon to this morning to now. According to the others, we had digged through just about the whole mansion. They had explored the cellar, the attic, even the servants' quarters where the unlucky survivor had nearly gotten himself eaten alive. We saw a riddle when exploring, and it might be a clue to where the key is located.
I think I remember seeing something like that. What was it? Martial Dragon?
I exchanged looks with Yanxu. Yanxu took her phone out from her pocket, drawing suspicious looks from the other survivors, and opened up the photo of the plaque to show the others.
The marshal of the central altar sleeps at the hour of the dragon and the snake, together with the sacrifice's key, cursing the father blessed by the gods.
Does anyone have any idea what this riddle could mean? The survivors murmured amongst themselves. A few pipped up with ideas and interpretations, but no one thought of anything new or clearly actionable. It seemed the riddle was still unsolved. As we were about to move on to another topic or possibly disperse, one of the younger survivors spoke up, crossing her arms in annoyance.
Why do you have your cell phone?
That was my question. I thought when we died that we don't have anything on us, but she has a cell phone and a charger.
I also used my phone all the time when I was alive, but I didn't have my phone with me in the afterlife. And some gloomy looking freak has hers? Are we sure she's not in cahoots with the game masters?
What are you trying to say? Narrowing my eyes, I protectively moved to block the aggressive survivor from Yanxi. The eyes of the group grew unfriendly as they whispered amongst themselves.
Calm down, maybe she just got lucky and hit it well, so she got to keep her phone. Since we're here, why don't we ask the girl to try calling civilization to get us all out of this hellhole?
The group agreed. I gripped my fist in irritation, but looked towards Yanxu to see how she felt about it. Clearly we had no signal in the first round. We didn't seem to have any last night either. Can we try that again? She nodded. Extending her hand to show her phone, she called 110. There was no signal, and the call failed to go through.
Give that to me!
What? Taking advantage of Yanxi's extended hand, the teenager tried to yank it out of her hand. The others began to push toward the two of us as well. Bro! Back off! Yanxi backed away, pulling her phone closer to herself.
Didn't that creepy judge say that we're all dead? How did you randos die, huh? Bet you died in a dirty, stinky ditch somewhere where no one cares about you.
Girl, perhaps you're doing what the young people all these days do call projecting.
Huh? Just looking at your balding head makes me want to smell the residual stink.
Can we calm down and get back to...
What? You want to share with the class the way you died?
Other players had already been fighting amongst themselves, arguing about what this teenager was talking about. Despite not knowing how I died, I had the suspicion that most of the other survivors knew how they died. Oh. You shouldn't ask people that.
Maybe I should. The Game Master Judge Guild said that we're all sinners here, so all of you must have been some real messed up people who died in real messed up ways to get here. What did you do to get pulled into this sinner game? You must be a total creep.
Pot, me kettle. Bickering, pushing, the survivor group devolved into chaos. Yanshu tugged at my jacket silently, looking like she wanted to leave the dining room as soon as possible. I felt tempted to go as well. However, before we could leave, the teenage survivor turned the group's attention back to us.
And really, what is with the phone girl?
You're right. Why does she have a phone? Taking advantage of his size, the middle-aged man, who I thought initially reasonable, plucked Yanshu's phone right out of her hands. Bro! Yanshu reached for it only to be blocked by other survivors. Bro! Give that back, it doesn't belong to you. Even if she's innocent, we can make better use of this phone. How do you unlock this thing? Seriously, give it back.
Give it to me, I know how to use it better than an old man like you.
Noisy, this place is really noisy. Oh. A plate fell to the ground. More accurately, Yanshu threw a plate at the ground. The room fell silent in surprise. Then she opened her mouth to speak, loudly and clearly. No wonder they're sinners! Yeah!
Give my phone back to me.
Walking up to the middle-aged man through the crowd that appeared surprised to see Yanshu speak at all, Yanshu took her phone back. She wiped it off with a napkin and held it close to her chest. Sending a glare toward the other survivors, she walked away, exiting the dining room. Rather annoyed myself, I copied Yanshu's glare and made to leave. You should consider resuming the keys search before wasting any more time bullying people. I exited the dining room without waiting for a response. I found Yanshu in the hallway, not too far away. Are you alright?
I can't stand people.
Yanshu let out a deep sigh and stared down at her feet. After a while of silence, I felt her tug at my jacket sleeve.
Let's try to find the key.
Yeah. Ooh. Pretty clouds. We continued our search. Time passed. Out of the blue, the air changed, and Eleven's voice sounded out of the sky, reminding me of the first round of the mountain. The feast for the king of the 11th court will that's 11.
The feast for the king of the 11th court will commence in approximately 1 hour.
We're almost out of time. 1 hour. Just 1 hour left. We didn't have any time left to wander around and hope for the best. We had to figure out just exactly where the key was hidden. The marshal of the central altar sleeps at the blah 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 blah. My brain clicked. That. Based on the riddle, the key should be somewhere in the southeast. The one place we haven't checked yet. Inside that pond with the lotus flowers.
The dragon and the snake refer to the directions. Southeast.
Oh.
Marshal of the central altar is Nuja, lotus flowers.
Oh, okay. We turned to look to the southeast in unison, yes. Exchanging looks, we nodded and started running down the halls towards the garden in that direction. We reached the garden and stepped right in front of the pond. Besides the greenery and flowers, it seemed unassuming with the pretty white-pink lotus flowers floating upon its surface. Likely no one had thought to search within it, no nets or tools in sight to use. Yanshu looked left and right, trying to find something to poke into the pond with, but we didn't have time for that. Jump in! I'm pretty good at swimming. What? Without thinking further, I dove into the pond with a splash. The water soaking into my clothes hindered my movement, but I forced myself downward, opening my eyes. The pond wasn't so deep that the light couldn't reach the bottom. Bubbles escaping as I... The bubbles are cute. As I conserved my oxygen, I quickly spotted something that reflected the water. The water-filtered sunlight sitting in the silt at the pond floor. It was a golden pagoda figure eight. I swam towards and lifted it from the ground. From it dropped an object that I grabbed before it touched the pond bottom. As 11 stated, the moment I saw the key, I knew that we had found it. More bubbles escaped from my nose. A muffled celebratory jingle reached my ears from above the water's surface. I had to go up, otherwise I'd run out of air before I had a chance to win this round. Gripping the key in my hand, I pushed myself off the pond floor and began to swim upward. The light above the water grew brighter. I was almost there. That's when something yanked on my leg and began to pull me down. No! In my shock, air escaped from my mouth. I struggled to swim upward, just my hand splashing above the pond's surface, then I felt myself being pulled down again. I was out of air. I couldn't accept this, but the thing overpowered me. I glanced down for just a moment, seeing a rotting creature that resembled the maids dragging me down, a water ghost. I extended my hand towards the surface, which was growing further away, even as I kicked at the monster and tried to swim. No. A thin hand grabbed mine. She pulled. Desperately for my sake. Yet she pulled against the force of the ghost, dragging me down and pulled me above the water. I gasped for air. Oh, thank God.
Hello.
Crack! Using the ground as leverage, I kicked the ghost away and lifted the rest of me out of the water with Yanshi's help. The monster poked its head above the water for a quick second before diving back down, waiting for its next victim. Splash! Finally, having a chance to catch my breath, I sat on the ground for a few moments and breathed air. My clothes were wet with water, weighing me down and leaving a puddle on the ground. I gestured for Yanxu to hold out her hand. As she did, I dropped the key into her open palm.
You found it.
Yeah. As I forced myself back up to my feet, an announcement came from the sky.
Congratulations, the key has been found. All players should make their way to the banquet hall for the feast.
We made it. A maid, wearing its human facade, approached us and bowed. In its hand, it held a towel, which it passed to me to use to dry off.
Please follow me to the banquet hall.
Just like that, we reached the banquet hall. The moment we entered, the key disappeared from Yanshu's hand. It seemed that the key's role was finished, once again reminding me that we were in the afterlife. Oh! In the banquet hall was a long table. At its head sat the tall, red-haired woman I saw the day before, her gaze sending a chill down my spine. The woman spoke. Shit, I gave, like, the cool voice to 11, so I don't know what voice. I'm running out of voices that aren't, like, dumb.
Congratulations, you made it to the feast in the third night and passed the second round of my game of life. I am the king of the 11th court.
Wait, what? Nisha? Oh, wait. What? Oh, no, that's... Wait. Ah! No. I was thinking of something else. This is not Nisha. Are you crazy? Come on, Shi. Pull yourself together! All because I was like, I thought Nisha was a girl.
First, sit.
I spotted 11 sitting beside the king, and the seat beside 11 on empty. All of the other survivors sat themselves. A number of seats further away from the king had been left unoccupied in sets of 2 or 3. I contemplated where I should sit. Teehee. Okay.
Want to sit closer to the door?
Sure. Finding 2 seats by the door, we sat down and glanced at the far other end where the king sat. Start the feast. Start the feast. The king clapped her hands once. Then the servants began to lay out various dishes atop the long table, placing shared utensils on each dish to let all of the guests serve themselves. The food looked different from what we had in the dining hall during the time we spent at this mansion. The meat glistened with strange sauce. The vegetables and pastries appeared a level higher in craftsmanship. The 2 of us picked up some food to eat. I put a piece of the strange meat into my mouth and paused. Crunch. It tasted strange. No way, is this cannibalism? No! 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 Crunch, crunch. It tasted strange. A slick, salty, metallic feeling coating my tongue. Tempted to spit it out, I looked at Yanshu, who was eating the same thing without any reaction, and swallowed a piece in my mouth, resisting the urge to gag. Then I picked up my cup and drank water till the flavor left my tongue. I didn't need to eat during the feast. That's the thing, they said that... So, like, at the start, they said that if you don't find the key, then everyone gets punished and is served as food during the feast. You know what I mean? So, like, if they didn't find the key, then they would have been eaten. But there are also people who disappeared along the way, so is this them? Are we eating them? Because there was that. The maids were getting... The people who were caught by the maid. Yeah. Exactly. Probably. Ew. I didn't need to eat during the feast. What do you think about the meat?
It tastes normal.
I don't know if we should eat it.
Oh, alright, I trust you.
Yanxi put down her fork and wiped her mouth with a provided napkin.
In the meanwhile, I ask you whether you want to go back to life and reincarnate if you pass the next round of this game.
Of course I want to go back to life. I plan to live till at least my 80s, so dying permanently in my mid-20s would be a huge waste of my retirement plans. I've still got a lot left to do. What about you?
I don't know. Going back to life would be alright with me.
But reincarnating would be alright as well?
I'm not sure. Reincarnating would mean drinking Mumpo's soup, wiping away all my memories of this lifetime. I wonder how it works. For example, would it be able to wipe away all the feelings you ever had in this lifetime?
It seems sad if so.
Why? Isn't it better to not have to feel any of the sadness of your previous life?
But then you can't remember any of the happiness either.
Even the happiness, I don't think you're supposed to be able to remember where it came from.
That really seems so sad.
But there's nothing left to be sad about. In fact, wouldn't you be happy if you cannot remember being happier or sadder?
I would say no.
Why?
Just my gut feeling.
I see.
I looked carefully at Yanxi, the girl who I grew up with. Talking about forgetting, I found myself wanting to commit every bit of her to my memory. For example, she had pretty eyes, cute nose, soft lips, and these days liked to dye the intersection of her hair. She was a bit shorter than me, and didn't go out in the sun much. At the very least, I'd be sad if I forgot about you. Yanxi was the only Yanxi in the world.
Me too. I don't want to forget you.
I put my hand on top of hers. Her slender fingers felt chilly, but I would warm her up. Oh, right. I have another point against reincarnating for me. I don't like drinking soup.
Even if it's magic soup?
Wouldn't magic soup be even worse? I can't imagine how it tastes.
I don't know. Soup is pretty yummy.
Rather than eating, we decided to chat. Luckily, sitting at the far end of the table, no one, not the survivors, not the king, not the servant, bothered to interrupt our conversation. The feast continued for a while longer. Everyone else at the table is like, ugh, PDA. Then the low bell tolled, signaling the end of our time in this round. When I opened my eyes, I once more returned to my familiar yet lifeless apartment. I leaned against the wall, hand pressing against a familiar feeling and fiddling with a hole that I had made once upon a time with a nail to hang a whiteboard. Even now, I felt as though I could waken from this nightmare to find that all of this was a dream. Yet I would not wake. Only one round remained of the game of life. After all of the close calls I had in the past 2 games, I still had no idea how I died, having no time for introspection when running for my life. I wonder how I lost my life. Was I murdered? If some unknown entity held a grudge against me and brutalized me to the point of amnesia even in the afterlife, I wonder if I wanted to remember. Was it a natural disaster? Climate change had certainly increased the instances of floods, landslides, fires, and whatnot in the region. Perhaps I simply dropped dead of a heart attack? I'd always thought that my family's genes were pretty resilient, none of my grandparents ever having heart issues or strokes. None of these questions bore any results. Mulling over my unclear death wouldn't give me any answers. Knock at Yanshi's door. Knock knock. Knock 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 knock. I rapped my knuckles on Yanshi's door, not knowing if she would be in that room, which should have long been vacated. Before I call out to her, the door opened on its own. I never had any automatic door opening system built into my apartment, so that was definitely not supposed to have happened. Yanxi was sitting on the carpet, fiddling with her phone in one hand and holding a open can of beer in another. More beer? As I approached, she set the beer down, making sure not to spill it.
Do you have signal?
Yanxi shook her head. Oh, that was me. Do you have signal? I took a seat next to her, careful not to lean against the bed since I was still in outdoor clothes. At least I had magically dried off between getting out of the pond and now. Leaning towards her, I couldn't help but grin. You cracked open a cold one pretty quickly if we both got back to our places at the same time.
You're the one who always went out drinking for work, coming home late all the time.
It's really part of my job. Can't get anywhere without the after-work socializing. Although I do wish I got paid a bit more in exchange for all the unpaid time.
Your company's lab really doesn't go out.
Your company's lab doesn't really go out much, huh? She leaned on my chest and shook her head. Close. Her face looked flushed. A cute pink dusted across her cheeks. Her eyes a little watery. This was how she looked when she was drunk. I wondered how long had passed since the last time we drank together. Although right now I was absolutely sober, not a drop of alcohol in me. She must have really chugged that beer. Wait, what? Yes.
I only drink once in a while when I'm stressed. Not that it matters since I'm dead.
I poked her forehead, eliciting a little yelp from her. Let's get through the last round, and then we won't be dead anymore, alright?
Mm-hmm.
Wanna come with me next time I get invited to something fancy?
Absolutely no way. I'm so bad with people.
Sometimes you just have to put yourself out there. Most people are pretty easy to talk to once you get past greetings. It's not so bad once you get the hang of it. She lightly smacked my arm.
I really hate it when you say those sorts of things. I can't do it. I'm just a useless person who can't change, can't grow up, can't talk to people, can't do anything. I can only do things at my own pace. I just can't be normal.
Yeah, shoot.
Whatever. I'm bad with people. I just hate people. Why can't they all disappear and leave me alone? I'm sorry.
She turned her head away from me. She wouldn't look at me, pulling away.
For snapping at you.
I shook my head. I'm sorry. I apologized. I know that I can be overbearing, if that's the right word. Inconsiderate. Acting like the world should work my way all the time, giving advice that no one asked for. I apologize not just for now, but also for all the other moments that I should have told her sorry. We sat in silence for a few moments.
Do you still remember how we met?
Junior high?
Yeah, it was summer, just before summer break. During that exam period when the AC broke halfway through the day, when the next best thing was electric fans circulating humid heat. I shouldn't remember what happened over 10 years ago so vividly, but I really thought I was going to die from the heat. Finally, out from the last exam, what was it even? I just remember struggling to get to the canteen or vending machine or anything for a drink of water. And then bumping into you. We didn't know each other at that point, but without hesitation, you gave me a bottle of water you were carrying.
We chatted about this moment many times before, so the memory had almost certainly been beautified. Yet to speak of it again in our mid-20s tickled my heart. I was on the basketball team in junior high, so I usually carried extra water bottles with me. At that time, I didn't think it'd come in handy that I carried extras.
No, it was water. My cool and gallant savior.
You know what I remember the most about that time? There was a pretty girl who I met after the exams who got assigned to the same class as me in the class shuffle after summer break. The rest is history.
Who is this pretty girl you're talking about?
You know her better than anyone else in the world. Don't think that I'm joking about calling you pretty. The really pretty girl who I wanted to become close to from first sight turned out to be my new classmate, Cheng Yanxu. Lady Luck loved me, so I didn't even have to ask anyone to switch seats to get assigned to the one next to you on the first day of the term. But I would have if I had to.
Aren't those words something you made up when we started dating?
It's the truth. Otherwise, what's the point of saying it now? After all, we had already broken up. Now, if I had said that, knew right away that you were kind and clever, well, that probably would have been something I made up, even if it turned out to be true. A little red crept up to her ears.
Why, thank you, classmate Tiahalu, for the glowing character recommendation.
I aim to please, classmate. Then Yanxu leaned against me again, just for the moment. The silence that filled the air was soft, gentle, just like her, reminding me of the past.
Yet I couldn't bask in that atmosphere of nostalgia for too long, and she distanced herself a little, appearing almost lonely even though I was right here.
Whatever happens, you have to pass the third round and pass the trial. I'll make sure of it.
Huh?
Despite being the way I am, I can pull through for the moments that count. It's the balance of karma. For every bad thing, there has to be a good thing, or something like that.
Pushing the long-forgotten can of beer further away, Yanxi rose to her feet.
The karmic balance will be altered if we keep chatting, so...
She tugged at my arm, making me follow suit and standing up, and started shuffling me toward the door. Huh? Why?
Because it makes me too happy.
Suddenly, I was getting pushed out the door.
See you?
See you. I stepped out of her room, and the door closed softly behind me. Before long, the low bell tolled, signaling the start of the third and final round. I think we have 4 minutes left. So I was thinking this while playing through it too. I was like, yeah. But the time, yeah, I was like, oh, if it takes about an hour for each test, then we're definitely just gonna have to only do the first 2 and then save the last one for some other time. Some other time, the moment I end the stream, I start streaming again. Low-key, I might, but it kind of feels bad because paranoia is still going on. So don't watch me, go watch the other people. But it's for myself so that I don't lose, so I don't forget the details that's happening. But, haha. Let me just double check. Where? Or if they're almost starting. Okay. So, yeah, they are there. Alright, some final thoughts before I move on to the thing though, about the game. First of all, like, I have to say, despite the lack of actual backgrounds that they have, because I don't think they have a background artist, I'm assuming, I don't know. But because a lot of the backgrounds I do recognize from other games because they are free. But like they did like such a good job with like the camera movement and everything. And like plus also like for example like that scene where they're standing outside of the mansion and they're just like you can it's like because you're standing away and far away, right? Like the characters are standing on the steps in the background instead of just appearing like right in front of you at the normal position, right? Which I thought was really cool. You know, because it really kind of gave a very movie cinematic-y feel to it. And yeah. um what else? I like the UI. I like the bar that you can thing. Oh my god. Wait, I didn't even save, bro. Hang on. Okay. But yeah, like the buttons all here too and the options like all the sliders and everything are all changed as well. It's very stylized and it's very pretty. Uh what else? I think the art is really cute and that the live 2D kind of gives even though it's not like super complicated live 2D like nothing you would do for like a VTuber model or whatever, right? But it's enough to give the whole scene like there's always like something moving on the screen. You know what I mean? Like it's like visual novels tend to be very static at times because everything is just like an image on a screen displayed, right? But like having things move around or like having something moving in the background, whether it be particles or the live 2D, makes it very like makes it feel more alive. Yeah. Um, other than that, uh, I love women. I really want to know what happens with Hailu and Yanshu. I don't know. I've been like silently rooting, like, oh man, I hope they get back together because that would be really cute. But then on the other hand, I'm like, oh wait, but I don't know if that's really possible because they did break up for a reason, right? And sometimes it's like it's not necessarily because they had a fight or anything. It's just awkward.
So yeah, okay. Anyway, I really gotta go now. So how do I meteor shower? Meteor shower, meteor shower, meteor shower. Um. Oh wait, I can meteor shower and unmeteor shower. So, but let me make sure I typed this right. Saloon bun. Okay. Is this it? Do I just need? I can send an emoji? Oh boy. What emoji? The rainbow for the game. Okay, we did it. Maybe I should have done the rainbow flag instead of the rainbow arch. It's fine. Rainbow for the case. Okay. Well, goodbye. I'll see you later. Thanks for watching. Yeah. Thank you for making the game.